Hey there. I forgot to mention this in past videos, and I should have. It's just I'm so new to this; it didn't even occur to me at the time. But I want to let everybody know that I'm not a doctor. I have no medical training whatsoever. What I am is someone that has dealt with akathisia for over a decade, a remarkable amount of time, and just someone who has been on psychiatric medicines for most of her life and has been harmed greatly by them, and just wants to help people not end up in her shoes. And even if they do um, decide to use them, I want to show you ways that you can do it in a safer manner in both starting and stopping a medication. That being said, I know where I'm from, Alright, that being said, basically what we're going to go through today is tapering, how to do it, how not to do it. Alright. So I made this really, really crappy diagram. Hopefully you can see it because my phone's kind of temperamental. Okay. So basically there's two diagrams. One, do not do. The other one, much safer. Okay, so the first one you can see the steep decline, right? Which is what most doctors do when they taper a medication. That's the one you do not want to do. This here is called a hyperbolic taper, and it's the wise method, as I call it, of tapering psychotropic medications. Basically, in doing this, you reduce in increasingly smaller increments over time. Okay, so let me explain this to you. So at the first diagram, you see just a slant. It's very sharp. This is how you will encounter withdrawals, and a lot of doctors do it. My encounters with doctors, they normally do it one of two ways. Either they'll do what I call the cut in half method, which really is the worst method possible. Do not allow someone to just cut your medication in half over a period of time. That's way, way, way too fast for the body to reprogram. It's your mind. It's just another way that's also terrible is basically what a doctor will do is they'll kind of take a medication, and whatever the starting dose was with it, they'll start lowering the dose by that amount. So I will explain to you, I'll give you an example. Let's say somebody is on Zoloft and they're on 100 milligrams of Zoloft. Now, the doctor wants you, since Zoloft is normally started 25 milligrams, they want you to decrease 25 milligrams every month until you're off. That's the doctor's plan. Okay, so by this, first you go from 100 milligrams to 75. That is a 25% cut. Then you go from 75 to 50. That's a 33.3% cut. You're cutting in a third. From there, 50 milligrams to 25. That's cutting it in half. You are, as you can see, what you are doing is you're cutting by a higher percentage over time, which is the complete utter opposite of what you want to do. And when you think about tapering, don't think in terms of how many milligrams you're on. Think in percentages. That's the importance. You want to taper in smaller percentages over a period of time. By doing this, this is why you want to do it. And basically, I described it in another video, like about how neurotropics work, is that basically what these medications do is they retrain your brain. Like in the case of an SSRI such as Zoloft, basically what the medication does, being a serotonin reuptake inhibitor, is it causes the serotonin to remain in synapse longer than it ordinarily would, and it prevents it from being reuptaked or dissolved into this other substance called 5-HT, which later becomes melatonin. So it just sits there, and that's how you end up with more serotonin in the brain. That's not natural. That's not how the brain normally does things. It only does things. It only does that when it's under the influence of a medication that causes it to do it that way. So, now, if you have been placed on like an SSRI or SNRI, chances are you probably felt sick, when you first start. And that's why, because your brain was being retrained. Well, now that you're to taper off of it, it's the same thing. Your brain needs to be retrained as to how not to do that and to start doing things the natural way again. If you do it too quickly, it's too much for the brain to handle. It doesn't know what to do, It's like the medication is telling it to do one thing, but it's, trying to relearn how to do it back the natural way. So, now, what this hyperbolic taper, I'm not going to lie, it does take a much longer time to do a taper because you are doing in smaller increments. But it greatly lessens the chance that you're going to go through any withdrawals, or at least it'll cut withdrawals down so that they're sustainable, Now, one thing that you should know, and like another reason why why you do like a smaller cut towards the end, like you might start 10%. Oh, by the way, when you do these cuts, normally it's recommended that you cut like from 5 to 10%. And then you make smaller cuts from there. Okay, so at the end of a taper, this is this thing. When you're approaching the end of the taper, you actually have a much higher chance of getting withdrawal. Like most withdrawals are at the end of a taper. That actually happened to me. Basically, I had a really bad protracted withdrawal from Klonopin. And I was on a mere 1/8 of a milligram when this happened. I was actually doing great up until then. I used to live right by the beach. I used to walk the beach like 5 miles back and forth a day. Like, I was just living life. I was happy. But I decided I needed to get off this medication. And like I said, I was doing great until 1/8. And then it just hit like that. And I got the worst akathisia. And I was never the same. Now, I was also doing the cut in half method. So, this is one reason why you want to like slowly decrease the percentage over time. Now, somebody in a forum has told me that receptors become unblocked quicker at lower dosages. I'm not too sure about that. It was just something that this individual mentioned. It sounds like it makes a lot of sense. So, but this is basically the reason that I know of. But I thought I would put that out there anyway. This is like the main reason is that at some point in your taper, you are going to reach a point where there is no more therapeutic effect of your medication. And that's when like the body just kind of like panics, and doesn't know what to do. And I'm sure you don't know, like, if you're on a certain medication, I'm sure you don't know exactly what that dose is, So to prevent that, just like having the floodgates open, and all hell break loose because the body no longer has any therapeutic medication in them whatsoever, and the brain's just going haywire due to it. That's why you want to, like, slowly in time just decrease the dosage. Like, if you start out 10%, like, after a period of time, you might want to go to 8%. Then you might want to try 6%, then 5%. It's a wiser way to do it. And that's the best way to prevent any sort of withdrawal. Okay, that being said, there's another thing that I kind of wanted to chime in is ways that you can do such a small taper, because, oh my God, medications, they only come in so much strength, right? I personally use a compounding pharmacy. Now, what that means is these pharmacies, they basically have drugs in a powdered form, and they can create a capsule in any strength your doctor gives them. And it took me like 6 years to find a doctor that would do this, but thank God for her. I love her. Anyway, so I had when I was tapering my Lamictal, I had in 7.4 milligrams, that's kind of strange percentage. And I actually ended up in the hospital with it, and the doctors were just like, what the heck are you? I had to have it was just, but anyway. But yes, they can literally do it in any percentage. So, compounding pharmacy, very helpful. Also, you can get a lot of medications in liquid form, so there's liquid titration. If you have doctors that are stubborn and they will not do this, and you're very, very sick, and you absolutely have to taper, a lot of people do the file and scale method. Basically, what you can do is you can buy yourself a scale that measures in grams, weigh your pill, you shave off, just with a nail file, so much, and you reweigh it, and that's the way that you taper down, is by following your meds. I'm dead serious. It's gotten that desperate with people that literally have akathisia from medication. Their doctor will not taper them. So those are ways that are I don't know. Lost my train of thought. I'm sorry. Anyway, I think that's it for today. That's pretty much all I can think of. Just if you're on these medications. Oh, that's another thing. Also, not only should you decrease meds gradually, also when you start medications, please do it gradually. A lot of doctors, they'll just be like, yeah, I think you should be put on Lamictal. We'll try you out on 125 milligrams. Well, the starting dose of the Lamictal technically is 25 or 50. So and a lot of people, that's a therapeutic dose for them. right? Well, the higher dose you have, the more likely you are to have a side effect. So just start out at that smaller dose. See how you do. And then if you're not getting like a therapeutic amount, then you increase gradually. And with the amygdala, I shouldn't have used that as an example because actually you're supposed to do it really slowly in general because there's a side effect called Stevens-Johnson syndrome that you can get if you do not do this. So anyone that's on the amygdala, definitely increase and decrease slowly, at least no more than 25. And even then, I personally would say 10% or even 5. So, yeah, that's it for this one. And thank you for listening.